Good evening, folks. We are live via, I was going to say Facebook there, as always. We are live via YouTube. I am Danielle, better known as Danielle The Happy Medium, and it is a pleasure to be here once again, Thursday night, live. Christine Coulson's in. Good evening, Christine. Let me know how the sound is. Let me know if it's okay for you, because ultimately sometimes the volume or the sound can be a little bit iffy jiffy, so do let me know how that's working for you, and then I'll certainly adjust if needs be. I'm very excited, actually. Getting quite handy at these Thursdays. I really do like them. For me personally, I hope everybody else likes them, but for me personally, I do like them. Wayne's in. Hello, Wayne. It's all good. That's what I like to hear. Right, I'm just going to move from this screen to that screen, so just give me a minute while I jump and move round, and then I can see exactly what it is that you lot's saying. And this one here, we should be in. There we go. Let me turn my volume down. There we go, and hopefully you lot, hello, sounds great here, says Joe. Ma's in, sounds fantastic. Thank you, Ma, I hope you're well. I'm pleased to see you returning back. I hope you got some nice questions for me. I'll certainly do my very best to answer them for you. I have been adjusting bits and pieces via the screen, so you should be able to see the comments a little better. You should be able to see bits and pieces of what people are saying a little better. Should you be watching this at a later date and you're not watching it this evening, I welcome you to join the channel. Please do give the video a thumbs up, helps with the algorithm. Certainly do subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed to it. So yes, I certainly do welcome all of them things. If you haven't already hit the notification bell, then please do that also. I know some of you are a little bit of a novice over here, but it's always good to learn something new. So that is about the normal things that we talk about. For them who don't know me, as I say, I'm Danielle, better known as Danielle The Happy Medium. The channel is called the Odd Bod School of Mediumship. I am a lady who owns a school here in the northeast of England, in the UK. For those who are maybe outside of the UK, you can find all of that information at www.theoddbod School of Mediumship, where you can find all my training, stuff about me, you know, bits and pieces. Anyway, I don't really like to talk too much about them things, because the channel on a Thursday night is strictly to try and help all of those out there who are needing my assistance, or maybe just want to hear my point of view. I have to say to you categorically here and now, this is only my interpretation. It's an opinion. Some of it is factually based, some of it is not. I do not have all of the answers, so please forgive me if I cannot answer your question. I have to tell you that, because I am always learning and growing as a medium also. So they're sort of the generals, you know, the stuff that we want to talk about. The floor is now open for you lot to leave your questions, for you lot to be able to talk about anything that you feel you want to talk about. It's an opportunity not only to talk about development, but also anything spiritual, psychic ability. We don't just stick to the mediumship. It's important. All evidential mediumship, psychic mediumship, it's all very important. But for me personally, I like to talk about all things spiritual, so that we can get a broad range of knowledge. So while I'm here, let me just talk a little bit. So I have my book. It's called The Freestyling Mediumship, available via Amazon for anybody who's looking for a different, maybe, view on mediumship. Some very quirky stories in there, ones that are my own, so you certainly may enjoy them. Certainly do check that out on Amazon. It's available via Kindle and also via paperback as well. So that is there for use if you so wish that. I will get a copy of it. I thought I had a copy sitting, but I haven't. It must be downstairs. I was showing somebody today, actually. I've been talking to somebody today, so maybe I've left it downstairs. So good evening to all of those who are watching. So let's just pop on in and see who's is in. Vicky's in. Good evening, Vicky. Nice to see you as always. It's a pleasure. And it's always nice to have everybody here. I know there's a few of you sitting in the background. Some people don't always like to write questions and whatnot. But if not, you just want to sit and listen, I'm okay with that too. Grab yourself a cuppa. I've got myself a cuppa. I've got a nice cup that my daughter bought me. So if at times you may see me stop for a mouthful of that, certainly do join me in having that cup of tea. So the floor is open for you lovely lot. And I'm going to start with Christine Coulson's question. So thank you, Christine, for that. So Christine's asking me, why is it my eyes start to film over and my face feels like a shadow over it, please? And don't say cataracts. Well, I always say to people, as you know, Christine, that it's important we check out the human element before, we start looking for the spirit world and issues that may be with the spirit world. So if you've looked at the human element and there's nothing there from a physician's point of view or from a GP's point of view for here in the UK, then we need to start maybe looking at that area of what is spiritualism. For me, it could be that the spirit world is building a layer of energy over your face. It could be also that the spirit world has become incredibly close and now you're starting to take on features of theirs. So it may be that they're also using your eyes as what we call external clairvoyance. I was actually told this by another medium, so I have to give credit where credit is due. That wasn't actually my knowledge. So it could actually be that it is external clairvoyance, which is where the spirit world is using our eyes and also starting to build a mask over the face. Now we're starting to get into the realms of transfiguration there, but it can also happen just in mental mediumship. It's where our blend is a little closer. The spirit world is touching upon the mind that little bit more, and we're taking on the characteristics of the spirit world. Now, that's only my interpretation, Christine. It's always open to interpretation, anything that I say. I always welcome other additional ideas. Also, I always say to anybody who asks me a question, what's your viewpoint on it? What do you think? Because ultimately, whatever you think is always important here as well. My viewpoint or the people's viewpoints are great, but it's also what is your viewpoint? The biggest question I'd say to you and all is, if you've got guides in place, why don't you ask the spirit world? Because the spirit world will actually give you the answer. Even if it's in another realm of something that belongs to yourself, the spirit world will have them answers for you if you're prepared to accept the answers that are given back to you. So there's a few different arenas that we could be looking at there, Christine. I would certainly check with your team, but also maybe take on board what I've said and see how that one resonates for you. It's just when I start to feel spirit with me, then that would lead me to think, Christine, that it is the spirit world drawing close, using your eyes externally to be able to give communications, but also where they could be just a little too close to the mind and the database and the nervous system. So ask the spirit world if that's starting to happen a lot, maybe ask the spirit world to step back a bit if it's bothering you. If not and you're happy and comfortable, leave it alone. I'm a big believer, and I say this a lot in mediumship, didn't fix what ain't broken. If it ain't broken, didn't fix it. Leave it alone. But definitely have a word with your spiritual team, see what they've got to offer you. But also take upon my viewpoint as well, and also take your viewpoint from it and see, maybe when you're doing your next communication, try to ask them to step back a little bit more, see if that's any different there for you. I'll be interested to know how that works for you there, Christine. Let me know, won't you? But thank you for your question. It was a great question, and I look forward to Mary's other ones that you have. So Wayne's saying, hiya Danielle. Hello Wayne darling. You're new to my channel. I hope you're well. Lately when I've been meditating, I fall asleep and wake up and feel like I've wasted my time. Great question. For me, Wayne, you never waste meditation. Even if, I've done a big thing. I think I've got some videos in the channel about meditation and also sitting in the power. It's when we do them types of things, it's important that we have an intention as to why we're doing them. But even if there's no intention there will still be an opportunity to relax. And sometimes, and I've said this a lot, and lots of people don't always understand this, when we're working for the spirit world, and especially as that developing medium, we're all developing mediums, including myself, but what tends to happen is when we're bringing new things in, so maybe development of, said clear range, development of different types of communicators, you know, these types of things. What can tend to happen, Wayne, is that the spirit world need a little bit of time to get things organized, get things sorted out, see how they can bring that into the mind and how that mind will accept that new knowledge and that new information. So I will always say to people, including yourself, if you fall asleep, you've never wasted your time. One, you've given yourself to the spirit world and just allowed the spirit world to do maybe background work. That's what we call it in the industry, background work. But also it's opportunity of just you as the instrument relaxing, which is important, Wayne. You know, as mediums and development mediums, and also in the personal arena of development, we have to appreciate and understand that it's important that we look after the instrument. The instrument is obviously us, the medium. So if the instrument is constantly overworked, constantly tired, constantly burning energy, because we are burning energy every day, we're working for the spirit world in whatever capacity. So it's important that we're taking good care of the instrument, which then helps for the background work, then helps with the development, then helps to continuously move you forward. So I always say to people, Wayne, even if you fall asleep, you never waste anything that you do in that capacity. Whatever it is that's happened will have happened. Some things that go on as well, Wayne, when we're doing meditation or sitting in the power, we're not always meant to know everything. If we knew everything, like I said at the beginning of the intro, there'd be no need for any other mediums, if you can understand my meaning by that. So it's always important that we understand that everything we do in regards to meditation or sitting in the power, whether we see anything, we don't see anything, we fall asleep, you know, whatever it may be there, Wayne, is all for the greater good, even if you can't see that right here, right now. So my answer to you, Wayne, is you never waste time. If anything, you're helping the instrument, which is you, to be in the best possible place. And one thing I see an awful lot in developing mediums, and also the more professional mediums, is that we get very overworked, we get very busy, and we don't always take the time to do personal development, which runs alongside mediumistic development. And I've talked about that probably for as long as I've had this channel, which is about two and a half years, that it's vitally important, Wayne, that as a medium, and as that developing medium, we take the time to develop that instrument as on a personal level. We become aware of our triggers. We become aware of the things that maybe are irritating us, how we can develop. I say this a lot, Wayne. You may agree with it, you may not. There's lots of mediums out there, but there ain't that many spiritual people, and that's what I mean by personal development. Spiritual people, looking after your thoughts, looking at how you react and not react. All them types of things are very, very important in the mediumship development. And also, if you're going to work platform or you're going to do public work, you've got to make sure that you are in the best place possible to handle the clients who are coming to you for, you know, grief, you know, or clients who can be difficult, you know, whatever it may be. So it's important that we don't ever see it as wasting time. See it as, let me change that round for you. Let's look at that from a different perspective. Let's say we have been putting things in place for a later date. So it's not wasting time, it's you've been putting things in place for a later date. I like that better. It's got a more positive affirmament to it. It also looks at it from a much more broader, bigger picture view. So I hope that helps you there a little bit, darling. Let me know how you think, Wayne. I can certainly look into it a little bit more if you so wish me to. Christine's saying, I've looked at that one, Christine, so thank you. Deb's in. Good evening, Deb. Louise is in. Hello, Louise, sweetheart. Ma's saying, hello, Ma. I hope you're keeping well. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I always feel like I can chew someone's arm off. After reading, do you feel like this? So what do you mean by as in hungry? Yeah, so it's a bit going back into Wayne's sort of question. We burn a lot of power when we're doing mediumship. So that's energy, basically, to me and you. And when we burn a lot of energy, we are the power. We are the energy that powers you to the spirit world. The thought is yours, shifts the mind, connects you to the soul and the spirit world. So we are very hungry, and therefore it's important, very important, that a bit about what we're talking with Wayne, if we're meditating, we're taking good care of the personal side of us, but also making sure that when we're finished working as a medium, we replenish the stocks, as I would say to you more. It's a northern thing, maybe as far down as the Midlands there. Lots of us, including myself, tend to head for the sugar. I am one of them. I was never a big fan of sugar till I started working for the spirit world, but it gives me that instant fix, and it gives me that instant hit of boost of what I need. So I can appreciate and very much understand what you're talking about there, Ma. Yes, it happens to me quite frequently, more so when I've done public work. I do a lot of platform demonstrational work, not so much because of COVID lately, as you know. But prior to that, I was doing anything between two to four services a week. Normally an hour and a half service, 2 hour services as evenings of clairvoyance, or them types of things, coupled with Sunday services as well. And that can make me incredibly hungry, I've got to be honest. Especially when I've been burning that much energy, holding that connection to the spirit world. Because ultimately it is me as the instrument who holds my blend there with the spirit world. So yes, I can appreciate what you're saying. Don't worry about it more. Try to change the sugar for the better things, apples, oranges, bananas. But I appreciate that the sugar will always be there as well. Crisps, starchy things, potatoes, anything like that. The only thing is the waistline might expand a little. That's the only thing I will say on that one more. Anyway, but thanks for your question. I really do enjoy it, and I can relate heavily to that one. Yes. Joanne May. Good evening, Joanne May. How are we? New to the channel as well. Thank you for joining us. I was dreaming last night, and I could feel that someone was coming towards me. Oh, okay. Could feel that it wasn't good. I imagined a gate closing over it. So it's sort of like a gatekeeper. Right. Okay. So, as many people know, and I've talked about this an awful lot, Joanne, on the channel. I've done a couple of videos on doorkeepers and gatekeepers. Let me take it back a little bit into my mediumship. So when I first started out, I was very much of that style. That was what I'd learned. That's what I'd become aware of, these types of things. As my mediumship has progressed and as my mind has allowed more, I don't look at it so much that way. I look at them words more as labeling. So we're labeling a guide in order to feel safe, if you can appreciate that. Now, for me, the fact that you're saying to me it didn't feel good. So my next question to you is there still a lot of fear with yourself, or is there still a lot of unanswered questions or things that you don't quite understand with your mediumship? Because fears are normally born through something that's been programmed into us, something that's been told to us. So that seems to be quite evidential within the spiritual community. We talk a lot about, bad people, demonics, these types of things, with really little or no understanding of the intelligence that is available to us working in the spirit world. A lot of the time, it's because we just don't understand, and our mind is programmed in such a way to either reject or to understand. It's fight or flight mode is the best way I can put it to you. So when we don't understand something, we will reject it. It's only when it's explained to us or when we've experienced it and we understand it and put their mechanics or that sort of toolbox into our mind, we'll go, yes, now I get that. And I would never ever say to anybody, what you terminology label something, it's what your mind needs right now. But what I'll also say to you is try to look at things from a different view lens, or try to expand or explore that a little bit. And again, probably going back to the couple of questions I've just answered, let's take a look at maybe what's triggering you. Why do you feel fearful? Is it because somebody told you something, or is it because you're new to mediumship and you're not quite sure what's going on? Give me a little bit more on that, Joanne. Let me have a little bit more on that, and I'll maybe take a bigger swing at it. All right. Joanne's in there. Sorry, so you've added on again. My apologies. It seems the gate closed over and it hasn't bothered me again. Did I do the right thing? It hasn't bothered me anymore. So, can I put this to you? Let me put this to you, and this may help you understand a little bit more. could you accept that you needed that visual, your mind needed that visual to be able to see that this individual or energy or whatever that was coming to you, the gate made you feel safe? Can I put that to you? Was that something you could tangibly accept? Could I then put to you, if the gate hadn't appeared and it hadn't, this, that, and the other gone away, would you still be fearful? That's a question I've got to ask you. The next question I've got to ask you as well is how much do you feel in control? Because you felt in control if you put the gate in, but yet you didn't feel controlled enough to be able to say to said energy that you saw, oh, hold up a minute there, you're not welcome here. I haven't asked you here, get back. So what I would really like to say, or maybe to talk you through an experience is to maybe have a look at this, Joanne, from another perspective, and instead of using visuals, just get in the habit of, when you don't feel quite comfortable, just say, no, that's unacceptable. I'm not prepared to allow that. Please step back. And in fact, all of the intelligences in which that I've worked with in the spirit world, Joanne, will all do exactly as you ask, because that's the law of the universal energy and also of the spirit world as well. I always say to people, there's nothing bad in the spirit world. Nothing. It's not that it's a program and a belief system that's being added to us to make us think that there's something to fear from the spirit world. And I often say to my students, and I will say here on the YouTube channel, you have to ask yourself this question as the medium. If you believe that the spirit world is a bad place, and you believe that the spirit world has bad people or bad things in it, then your loved ones reside within the spirit world. So you have to ask yourself the question, your loved ones in the spirit world, so are they mixing with them bad people? That's the question you have to ask yourself. If your people are good people, which they are, all of our loved ones are, then what you're telling me, and what lots of people tell me is that my nana's sitting with bad people in the spirit world. And that's something, Joanna, just for me, it just doesn't quite resonate. It doesn't make sense. So therefore you have to look at it from the terminology of everything in the spirit world, regardless as to what went on down here. Everybody in the spirit world are good people, and they would never do you any harm, if you can appreciate that. So have a think of it that way, and let me know, and let me have a little bit more of a look at it. Let's have a look, because there's a lot of questions starting to fly in. No problem, Christine, no problem at all. Right, can I ask you another question then? Why do you, when you put the terminology of gatekeeper, Joanne, to that piece of energy, why does that feel safe than this bit of energy that has no label? What is the difference? Because this energy is exactly the same as this energy, just you've just put something to this energy. You've said that this energy here is a gatekeeper or a doorkeeper, so therefore this has got more power than this, but actually this energy has exactly the same power as this energy. What you have to understand with the spirit world is it's the level of intelligence. So the spirit world, any guide who works for the spirit world or works with mediums has vast amounts of intelligence. It has enough intelligence to do everything it's supposed to do without the labels. It's us because we need the labels. And eventually what will happen, when the time is right for you, the labels will eventually drop away, just like they did for me. I don't have labels now. I don't even really name my people. I know them through vibration. I know them through calling cards. So I know what they feel like to me. And as my mind has accepted more, and I've started to move further and further into what we call mind evolving, we become less and less in needing of the labels that teaches you that this gatekeeper here, who has the same amount of knowledge, intelligence and understanding as this energy here, really is no better. What you have to understand with the spirit world is there's no spirit is any better than any other spirit. The spirit world don't see it that way. All they see is levels of intelligence. Every spirit in the spirit world is exactly the same. They're equal. Everybody's equal in the spirit world. The only difference is they have levels of intelligence, and it's the same with guides. Every guide is exactly the same, only different levels of intelligence. That doesn't make them any stronger or any less. But the minute you need them labels, and I'm okay with that. But what I'll ask you to do is to look at it maybe again from the viewpoint that I've spoke of. If your mind can't accept that, that's okay. We will work with that, and we'll just allow that. And when the time is right, you'll pick them things up when you need to pick them up. There is no rush here. It's a journey. We're all meant to just walk the path at our own time. But always have a look at that and just think about what I've said in that capacity and see if that helps you in any way. Let me know any more, Joanna, and if I can help you, I certainly will. But thank you for your questions. Amazing questions. I know it's something that is obviously, try not to feed into the fear. Try not to worry too much in that capacity. Let's have a look. So Vicky's saying, hiya Vicky darling, I hope you're well. What are your thoughts regarding past lives and then making you, me, you, us, the people we are today? For me personally, Vicky, I've got to be honest, right? I'm into all of that, right? Not to the extent that I know lots of other people are. But I do believe, and I'm a great believer, that we don't meet people by accident. I think everybody that has come into our lives, whether they stay or they go or whatever, for me personally, I think is there to teach us a lesson. They're there to love us for whatever reasons. They're there to shine parts on us that maybe, are things that need to be worked on, addressed, these types of things. I'm a great believer in that. I'm a great believer that there is no coincidences within the world in which that we live in. I'm a great believer in that. I do believe that there's some things that we will bring forward from lessons or experiences that we have done when we've been on the other side of life, and that maybe need to be experienced here to the earth and cannot be experienced within the spiritual realms. So I do believe that there is an element of past life. Do I believe that everybody is interconnected through the conscious one? Yes I do. Do I believe that everybody in the spirit world is also connected in every way, shape and form? Yes, also I do believe that as well. I think the experiences that we have here and the experiences within the spiritual realms are, one and the same, but very different also in every way, in order to gain experience, learning and evolving. So for me, I'm a great believer in past lives. I'm a great believer that there's elements of us that is always learning, growing and having other experiences. Do I think they make us in the person we are today? Possible. I have to say this, and I always say this to people. There's endless amounts of knowledge in the spirit world if your mind's prepared to accept that. I watched a film called Lucy, and it's one of my favourite films. And it's about a particular individual who takes an awful lot of what they call pregnancy hormones that is produced when women fall pregnant or expecting. And within that film, it expands upon the fact that the mind in which that we're using very little of it, very little in every capacity. Animals use a lot more of their capacity because they look at the world from a very different viewpoint. They're not speaking as humans are speaking. They are using intuition, they're reading energy, they're watching facial expressions, they're working a lot on body language. So for me personally, I'm a great believer that through that film and the understanding of the mind is evolving and advancing, that the spirit world is that largely evolved that, we are but tiny minuscules of limited knowledge. We're limited really. Over there's vast more knowledge. And I can never say categorically yes or no that, that makes us into the person we are today through the past lives we have. Because we only get to know what we need to know or what our mind is prepared to accept at this time. And that it may continue to accept and learn more throughout the course of experiences that you have here to the earth. So to me, Vicky, with connections to whether it's the person we are today, it could be a yes or a no. That knowledge is not available at this present time to my mind, but further down the line I may have a better answer to that. I would like to wait and see. So thanks very much for your question. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Rachel, hello Raquel. I hope you're well, sweetheart. Hi, can a guide work with more than one person at a time? Yes, is the answer to that question. I have also heard of ascending masters who are supposed to be more highly evolved. Yep. And obviously lots of people or events at once. That's very true. So all of the above questions that you've asked me there are a yes and a yes. So many of us will have heard of angels, Archangel Michael, all of these types of things. Lots and lots of people, they are there for what we call the collective. They're there for the bigger picture. They're there for the every mind, not just some minds. So yes is the answer to the question. Yes, they are easy available to tap into. Again, nipping back round into Vicky's question, it's about whether or not you can accept and allow your mind to understand that then things are possible. You've got to look at it from that. It can be possible. It can be done. Not, it can't be done. That can't be right. It's got to be this way. It's got to be that way. I always look, Raquel, in a way that anything's possible. We could, not just in this world, but also in the other world as well. But in answering short to your question, yes and yes. Guides work with multiple people. The gentleman who works with me doesn't just work with me, works with other people. But there's others of mine who only specifically work with me. They don't work with anybody else. And that's a personal choice of a guide's as well. That's something that the guide may be gaining more awareness, knowledge, and growth. So for me, it's a personal choice of the guide. But can a guide work with more than one people at any given time? Yes. And you know the best bit about that bit now is that I might see this particular energy as an Indian, but the other person might see it as just the normal person. And that's because the energy is manipulated through the mind, filtered through, and experienced in the reality in which my mind will accept it at that given time. So that's a real interesting element of guides, in how guides can look very different to one person versus working with another person. And that's the beauty of energy. That's the beauty of looking at energy from them parameters. And I think for me, that's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, and I find that a really, amazing thing. I've got to be honest. I find that quite mind-blowing for me, Rachel. I've got to be honest. So Deb's in as well. Hiya, Deb. Could you explain 3D and 5D to me? 3D is this world. 5D is the spirit world. But in all honesty, Deb, it's labeling. That's what it is. It's labeling. It's people who like to put terminology tags to it. Basically, earth world, spirit world. Really, they're both in the same world, really, just different levels of consciousness. But that's what they're saying. 3D and 5D is 3D's this world, 5D's that world. But it's just labeling. It's where, as much as it pains me to say it, Deb, and I shouldn't really, it's where people like to make things look better than what they actually are. People like to make it look exciting. Really what they just need to say is the earth world and the spirit world, or what they want to say is one consciousness versus another consciousness, really. But that's what they say in a nutshell anyway, Deb. So I hope it answers your question a little bit for you. Thank you for your question also. Wayne's saying, thanks, makes sense. Yeah, does indeedy. You're very welcome. Hopefully I'll see you again, Wayne. And if you've got any questions, I'll certainly answer them for you. Good evening to Laura Brown. Hello, Laura. Nice to have you here on the channel. Big wave to you. Hiya, Danielle. Hello, darling. Can we choose what type of channel we are? Or do we have to just stick with the way the spirit wants us to work? One of my favourite questions. My answer to you, Laura, is, and one that I see lots and lots of mediums have a real issue with. The spirit world is always altering. You are always changing. You are always developing. Always remember that as the medium. Never, if I'm a medium who trains multifaceted. So I'm a big believer in freestyling mediumship. Mediumship that's just done freely with very little or no restrictions. So really what I'm telling you is I don't believe the spirit world works one way. I believe that the spirit world works multifaceted, different ways and you as the medium also needs to learn to work multifaceted ways. The reason I also say this for us is every loved one that comes through is different and unique in their own individuality. Different personalities, different types of communications, different patterns, different this, different that. Also, if you're not changing it up or you're not looking at it from a different view lens, then you're not learning, you're not gaining anything from it. You're doing the same types of communication, same types of things, different, same way of working, and learning very little. When you do it differently or try something new, you're learning a new technique, you're learning a new way to work with the spirit world, you're learning another way to work with a different style of communicators. So for me, Laura, I relish, and I've got to be honest with you, to see mediums working multifaceted, not all clairvoyant, not all clairaudient, not this, not that. Just do your work and do it the way that it comes through. If it comes in a different clair, the clair you've been working, don't panic. It's probably just a different style of communication. You're learning something, you're growing from it. Different way of using the database, another way to be able to wrap your mind from another parameters. Relish them opportunities. Honestly, the amount of mediums I see panic because they were working massively clairvoyant, and then they've started to hear the spirit world and they're like, oh my God, what's happening here? I'm so used to this. And a big thing I'm going to say to developing mediums, and you probably might not understand this, but honestly, when you will know when there's changes coming, you will feel it, you will know, and that's the time to start getting excited. That's the time, because you're gonna, and this is where sometimes medium take just a touch of a dip, boosh, and they're like, oh my God, my work's gone off, this isn't happening, this isn't working, whatever it may be. And actually, if you once you go through that journey, it's a journey, remember, you're journeying, you're learning, you're growing, you're evolving. You then start to rise back up and you start working and working a bit more, and you'll go really nice and steady, and you'll get the hang of them new clairs that you develop on the new style of database, and you're like, yeah, you get, and that's when you want to start getting excited. My answer to you, Laura, categorically, hands down, find multifaceted ways to work with the spirit world. The spirit world is multifaceted. Learn as a medium, be like that. Honestly, it's one of the best things I can recommend to any medium. Don't get stuck in just one way. Have your abilities in every. Some will play probably stronger than others, but have them in as many different arenas as possible. It makes you adaptable for the spirit world. It gives you lots and lots of different choices, and I think when you do mediumship, that's a very important understanding. So I hope that answers your question, and let me know, Laura, come back to me, won't you? Hazel's in. Evening, Hazel, darling. Styles is saying, hiya, Danielle, this is Yvette. Hello, sweetheart, I hope you're well. I haven't seen you in a while. Just wanted to say you're one of the best teachers I've encountered. Oh, that's really nice, that. Thank you. I've had a lovely week this week. I've been with lots of my students. I've been very busy with training and things. My circles have just started back up, which is always nice to see. And I've got lots of new students and things. And, it's a real honour, when people say that to me. And I'm always touched and humbly grateful that, people think them things. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, I didn't do mediumship because I'm looking to make my name. I'm not doing it for none of them reasons. I'm genuinely committed to seeing the next generation of, good mediums. I struggled, when I was first starting out, to find them types of things and be able to, understand what was going on. So I'm absolutely humbled and touched that you say that. So thank you, Yvette. I look forward to seeing you in March. It's going to be a blast. You're going to love it. Anyway, so thank you for that. That's a real honour. Thank you. Anyway, Joanne's saying, it didn't look good, I got a visual. But could you accept, Joanne, that that's how your mind saw it? That's how your mind saw the energy, Joanne. And you interpreted that as fearful because you didn't quite understand it. Could you accept that also? Let me know on that one there. I have my psychic abilities. It just seems to be growing on its own. That's what happens, Joanne. Welcome to our world. You're not alone. you know, in this world that is psychic development and mediumistic development, or spiritual development, that is, or personal development. We're never alone. You will always walk the path alone, but there will be many people who walk it with you. Just nobody can walk it for you, if you can understand that. So I hope that you can appreciate that, Joanne, and hopefully, you know, I'm always available here on a Thursday if you've got any amount of questions. You know, I didn't really like to talk about training stuff on here because it's not really my thing. But you know, the website, certainly check that one out. You know, if there's some development things there you want to take, by all means, we'll certainly take a look at that. If you want to join the circles, there's a group on Facebook. You know, certainly get involved in that also. You know, there's many ways to access me, you know, in that capacity. So let me have a look and see what else. Let me know what you think, Joanne. Vicky's saying, for those that are at the very beginning and are open to what's around them, what would be the first step for the person to take? Beginners, sit. That would be my first thing to say to the beginner. For me personally, it was an important part of my development in building my relationship with the spirit world. Also, it's how we also change the development of the psychic ability into the mediumistic ability. As we start to work more and more with the understanding of the psychic awareness and the ability, we then start to shift the mind and start to use and work with the spirit world a lot more. An important 3 steps I would say to any medium: make sure that you are aware of your blend, your shift of the blend, and making sure that you stay with the spirit world when you're working for them. They would be my first 3 things I would say. Sitting is a big one. Check out circles, check out development. If you don't want to go down them roads, just keep sitting for the spirit world. Eventually your guide will step forward and they will then take you on the journey they feel best. You are really quite lucky now for the beginners or for the intermediates or for anybody who's looking for extra knowledge. There's any amount now of development out there, you know, at quite reasonable prices. You know, once over there was very little in that capacity. Now there's any amount of it. So, and I would even say is quite spoiled for choice. You know, I wasn't that privileged, I've got to be honest. A lot of my development, good 80-90% of it is all come from the spirit world, with bits and pieces here and there, books and things, a couple of people, etc, etc, etc. But most of my knowledge is from the spirit world. So, you know, but not everybody wants to do it my way, and I appreciate that. So if you want to go down that route of development with others, there's any amount of them. My advice to you is, if you're going to look for development with people, look at the person and think, would I get along with you? Would I like your courses? Not just because everybody's cheering and going, oh, look, 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 look. It's got to be a personal thing for you. You know, it's got to be something that you've got to look at that person and think, right, I've got to sit with you for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, a year, whatever it may be. Are you going to get on my nerves? Do you know what I mean? You've got to, because you've got to understand that you've got to be able to get along with a person that's training you for X, Y, and Z months. Otherwise, you're going to end up wanting to pull away from your development. Also, does their development style work for you? Is it something that sits within your parameters? You know, all of them types of things. They're big questions that I would be given to any newbie. Don't rush. That's a big thing I want to give to beginners and all. Didn't rush. There's plenty time. You know, not everything was built in a day. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day here. You've got all the time in the world. Never, ever, ever, ever judge your development or your experiences or your journey on what others are doing. Ever. Don't ever, ever do that, because what they're doing and what you're doing is 2 very different things. So always remember that. Just because it looks like they've got it all in the bag doesn't mean to say that they have. And that's a big misconception sometimes, especially with the social media platforms that we have now and these types of things. So always take your time. Get the basics in place. Get the things that are important. The understanding of the shift. Understanding of the development of energy. Your energy versus the spirit world's energy is vitally important. And learning to hold on to the spirit world when you're working for them is a big must. I've got to be honest with you. So there will be some of the things I would give. Fabulous question, Vicky. Thank you very much for that. Joanne saying, so I need to get to know more about who and what comes through. Do you understand, Joanne, that it's intention? Everything that you're doing for the spirit world is intention based. So if you're connecting to the spirit world on the fear-based matter, then you're going to be connecting and looking for fear. If you go looking for fear in this world or of the spirit world, then that's what you're going to find. You're going to find, you've got to understand that some people in the spirit world maybe weren't as good looking as some other people. So you might representationally look at that individual in the spirit world and think, God, they're quite frightening to look at. But actually, they were very good people. For example, there could be some people who had some facial disfiguration because of maybe some issues or problems that they'd experienced here to the earth. That doesn't mean to say they're bad people. It just means that there is some disfiguration of their face. So what I have to say to you is be more monitoring of your intention you're putting to the spirit world before you connect. Also looking at, have you done some work on the self to make sure that there's no fear inside of you and your intention, because you are the power's you to the spirit world. Also closing off, it's an old school technique, still used. I was talking to somebody just yesterday, and it's still something that it goes on within the mediumship movement. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I ain't saying that. All I'm saying is there's other ways it can be done. Or there's other ways that we can manage these things in a much more professional way. One would be more discipline of the mind. Another one would be not to be looking for the spirit world unless you're working for them. There's many different avenues that we can do without this sort of closing down of the chakras. And for me, closing down the chakras is not a good idea. And the reason being is because we need the chakra system as a human to live. Without the chakra system, we would die, because we are energy. It's the energy chakra system within us that keeps us moving, even though we have the heart, the lungs, and the mechanical side of us. We need the chakra system to be open and moving so that we can live as individuals. So it's not a technique that I'm a fan of, but I know that technique goes on there. I'm not saying it's a bad technique. It just depends on how that technique is being given over and how that technique is used in whichever manner. So for me, closing off, it's just about learning discipline. That's all. No bother, darling. No bother at all, honestly. Hi, Sarah. I hope you're well. Long time no see. Del's in. Good evening, Del, my spiritual friend. How comes I've never met my guide? Again, many people ask me this question. And I've done many different workshops and sort of bits and bobs on this subject matter. What you have to understand is that everything happens in the right time. Everything's available to us when we're ready to be available. Lots of us as instruments think we're ready. We do. We think, right, we've got this in the bag, we've got all this development, we've got this, we've got that. But then we haven't done any of the personal development that's needing to be available to run alongside that mediumship development also. Also, the spirit world, when we understand the intelligence that we're working with over there, the guides are always available to you. Some guides choose not to want to show themselves. Sometimes you have to trust in the process. Sometimes you have to trust and believe that then people are there, they're available, and they're working with you. Sometimes it's us as humans, us. We want the visuals, we need the feelings, we need this, we need that, we need the labels, the terminology, in order for this mind to be acceptant of the fact that we have a guide. And what we have to understand is that we are from the spirit world, we connect to the spirit world, and that we're always taken care of. It is us that thinks we're not. It's us that feels that we need to put this in place, that in place, do this, do that, do this, do. And before you know it, you're so caught up in the jargon, is probably the best way I can put it, that you've completely lost the whole spiritual aspect of trusting in the divine timing, trusting in the process, trusting in the knowing, trusting in the belief system that the spirit world, I don't just know the spirit world's there, I don't just believe the spirit world's there, I trust that the spirit world's there, I trust that the spirit world will always be there, I trust that my guides hear me even if I don't see them. So my answer to you is it validation of the guide because you need the validation, Are you do you want the validation because it's your ego that needs the validation? They're the questions you have to ask yourself. And when you look at the spirit world from them parameters, you will come to realize that it is actually you that, and your ego, that needs, when you should just trust in the process that you're working for the spirit world. They are there for you, they are available, and they are working with you, even if you don't see them, feel them, hear them, or know that they're there. And I say that to my students all the time, and they look at me a bit strange, you know. They're like, but I know, Danielle, but like, how do you connect to them? How do you do this? When you understand the mechanics that we use for connecting to the spirit world, it's exactly the same mechanics we're using for guides. Thought-based matter. Them guides will hear you. You have to believe that. You have to trust in that. For example, if I was to say to you, all of you who are maybe, you know, developing mediums, even maybe more advanced mediums here, go to the spirit world and get me a communicator right now. I bet each and every one of you could do that. Or more or less. But if I was to say to you, oh, get me a guide or talk to a guide, you'd be like, oh, I've never met him. I don't know what he looks like. I haven't seen him, you know. And that would completely throw you. But yet, you don't know who them loved ones are. They are just people that you've never met before in your life. Do you understand what I'm trying to get to you? Maybe look at it from them parameters, and then you may experience or understand that the spirit world doesn't always need to be seen. It doesn't always need to be available in that capacity. What sometimes it just needs is just an awareness and an allowance and a trust that they are always there. So I hope that answers your question a little bit for you, Del. Cracking question. Foxy's in. Hello, Foxy darling. Yeah, I made it in time. Good lass. Good to see you. I hope you're well. Jenny's in. Good evening, Jenny, my friend. How is things? Feeling much better. I'm a thing or two. I'm not a silly girl. Let's put it that way. I'm pleased. I'm going to check in with you on Friday. I'm pleased you're feeling well. Great. I'll check in Friday. Laura saying hi. Hi, Laura. Hazel B saying, how many clairs is there? So, top range clairs, clairvoyancy, clairaudience, as many of you know. The rest of them, the lower clairs, clairsentience, claircognilian, clairempathy, clairaugustus. The lower clairs could be anything between, I'm sure there's anything between 10 and 24. Top two clairs, and then anything between 10 and 24, Hazel. And honestly, I know some of them, which I've expressed to you there. Probably know a few more if I was to put my mind to it a bit more. But they're just the ones that flew straight off my mind. There's a list of them all over the internet, various sort of search engines. Check them out. But yeah, there's a fair few of what we call the lower clairs. There's only the top two clairs, which is ultimately clairvoyancy and clairaudience. So I'll answer the question a little bit there for you, Hazel. Laura Brownson, brilliant. Thanks very much. I'm totally in that dip now. You called it perfectly. Yeah, and you'll come out that dip. Don't panic. Best thing to do when you get into them places, don't panic. It's an opportunity to learn something. Instead of panicking, going, what's wrong? Fling it around and go, what am I learning? What the teacher me? What can I gain from this experience? You'll find that it works a lot better for you. Honestly, categorically, I wish you the best of luck, Laura. Definitely. Rachel is saying, thanks earlier for questions. Yeah, not a problem. If Chief appears as a Native American to some people, does that mean he is one before in his past life or not? Why does your brain say it like that? It's the way my mind perceives that energy, Raquel. He may have been a Native American in a past life, maybe. But he may not have been. It may just be the way that my mind perceives that energy. What you have to understand what guides is that guides have formulated, you know, many multifaceted awarenesses. I wanted to say evolutions. That's what I wanted to say. That energy has been evolving for years. It has been continuously developing, learning, growing, and therefore will eventually maybe. What you have to understand is energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be changed or altered. So as he maybe was once a Native American, as he's progressively moved forward, learned, grown, evolved, his energy has started to change and manipulate and alter in order to become more spiritual. What you have to understand is when we leave this world, we leave the physical body, so we drop the physical body. And as we continuously evolve in the spirit world, we vulvanate as energy, and we strip away layers of the physical world. So we start to drop the things that made us physical, and we become more and more evolutionary of spiritual or energy of another consciousness. So yes, he may have well been a Native American, but he may only appear within my mind as that particular individual because that's the easiest thing for my mind to accept at this time. I mean, I see less and less of people now, I've got to be honest, and more energy, to be honest with you. But that's just how it's working for me. I hope that answers your question. Great question, Rachel. Thank you for that. Silver's in. Evening, Silver, darling. I hope you're well and keeping good. And sometimes you feel like you've lost one Claire while spirit is developing another, and you freak out. That's right, Silver. Yes. And eventually it comes back, and life's all good. That's right. With an evolution or development of another sensory system, and more allowance and trust in the journey. Excellent explanatory. Thank you very much for that, Silver. Well done. Amazing. Thank you. Marie Parker's in. Good evening, Marie, my darling. Louise is saying hello to Marie as well. Misha's saying hello, Misha. Big kisses to you out there in the States. Do you have a particular spirit guide for mediumship? If so, how did you meet them? Sitting, Misha, all of the time. Just sitting for the spirit world. As I said, I think last week, I sit quite regular for the spirit world all of the time, you know, every day. I get up actually an hour earlier, as I said last week, to that one. And I have done for many years, sit for the spirit world. What I tend to do, and what I did was, I used to just put the intention out. I'm looking to meet my guide or the guide that the spirit world feels is best suited to me in my mind right now. And that was many years ago, that I've got to be honest. And ultimately, the guides just started to, you know, make themselves aware to me through either a feeling or, you know, a knowing or whatever it may be. So for me, Misha, do you need a particular guide for mediumship? No, because every guide has the understanding of an intelligence in order to do communications. You know, a lot of guides will assist with communications, as mine do. Some people will not use guides at all. Some people don't believe there's anything such as guides. Again, different terminologies, Misha, of different people who see from different parameters. My interpretation of it is, and I find it, for me, this is just my opinion here, so it's not my intention to freak anybody out or to look like I'm having a stab at anybody. I'm not. But I think it's highly rude, and I think highly disrespectful to say to the spirit world, well, I don't need you, and I don't need you to help me with my communications because I've got it all boxed off. You know, the spirit world and the guides are there for multifaceted purposes to help with communications, learning of knowledge and understanding of you and your mind, you know, all of them types of things. And I think it's a real insult, and I think it's highly cheeky to say to the spirit world, oh, well, you know, I don't need you for communications because, you know, I've got it all going on. And that tells me there's an ego link going on there, because these people are highly evolved individuals, you know, all of different levels of intelligence, but all of the right intelligence to guide and work with minds in the best way possible. So for me, Misha, no, you don't need a particular spirit guide. Met mine is Frank. Nice to meet Frank. But for me personally, I also think that, you know, the spirit world is there for a multitude of reasons, and that they all have the awareness and capability and evolvation to do communications in mediumship. So for me, I welcome the spirit world to work with me. I welcome them to work with my communications if they feel they need to. You know, any help is good help as far as I'm concerned, you know what I mean? Why would I want to turn away, good help? It's crazy, to turn away these individuals who've been doing communication since, the dawn of time. And I'm going, no, it's all right, I've got it, I don't need your help. It's crazy to me. But, that's just my understanding and awareness of it. But, for me personally, I welcome all the help I can get, and my ego isn't in such a place that I don't feel that I can't ask for help, or I feel that I can't take assistance from somewhere. I'm humble for any learning I can get, any knowledge that can make me that better individual or that better conductor for the spirit world, or ambassador for the spirit world. You just kind of knock that kind of knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Definitely not. Anyway, so Dawn, I hope that answers the question a little bit for you, Misha. A new Dawn. Hiya, Danielle. Hello. New spirit. Spirit start to give it. Will spirit start to give you pokes to get started again if you stop your practice due to what's going on at home? The thing with the beauty with the spirit world is they're always there. They're always available. They're always working with us in some capacity. And I've got to be honest with you, Dawn. It'll not be the spirit world who's looking for you. You'll be looking for them. They're always waiting, ready for when you're ready to start working again. So I would say, really, Dawn, it's not you. It's not the spirit world who's looking for you. It's you that's looking for the spirit world. It's you that's looking for the new thing. My answer to you is, if you're looking for it, it's time for something. So I would be interested to explore that and see where you went with that. I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you, Dawn. Misha saying Frank, yep. Joanne Mays, if you feel you don't work well with a particular guy, can you ask for another one with respect? Yes, but, and I have done this very early on in my mediumship. When I first ever started my mediumship, I probably was kind of full of fear. I got to be honest. I didn't really know what was going on, all these types of things, right? So I got to be honest. I turned probably many guides away because they didn't quite fit my. Well, it wasn't. Let me explain this to you. I thought that I didn't like their way of learning. Let's put it that way. It was the fact that they wanted to teach me new things and Danielle wanted to stay the same way because it was working for me, all of these types of things. So I used to say, right, that's it. No, I can't be done with that, because probably my ego was saying, that's too hard. If you can accept that, that's too hard. And what I had to learn, Joanne, is that when you start trusting in the process and in the journey and the evolution, that the right guides are with you for all of the right reasons, even if you don't understand it. But if you, the instrument, thinks that that's not working, my first thing I'd say to you is are you in the way? Are they trying to teach you something that you don't like? Because that then has to be a level of acceptance from the instrument. It has to be a level of acceptance that there's something wrong. And for a long time, somebody said this to me once. You didn't think you did out wrong, yeah? And I was like, well, no, not really. But that was me ego talking. Do you know what I mean? I thought I had all the answers. I thought I had it all mapped out. I thought I knew what I was doing. And half the time, probably I didn't, you know what I mean? So my answer to you is yeah, you can change them if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. I've got to be honest. I'll probably say to you, look at it again and see what you can learn. It may be tough. I appreciate that. But further down the line, you will probably learn a lot more than sending them back and asking for somebody else. I've got to be honest with you on that. But you can do it if you want to. But what you have to also understand as well, that guides give up their time to come and work with you also. So say you're from them parameters. And again, when I was just talking previously, there was probably a lack of respect there for them guides that I probably asked to step back. Because I didn't know better then. When I was younger in my mediumship, in my first couple of years, I didn't know any better. I know better now, but I didn't know then. So ultimately, it was probably for my parameters, and I often say to my lot now, them guides aren't mad at me, are they? Like, my guide laughs at me as if to say, no, Danielle. But like, I do feel genuinely bad because they actually give up their time, and it was actually disrespectful. So yes, you can change them if you want to, but I would always say to you, try and keep them, because they're going to teach you something, even if it makes you uncomfortable. And from the biggest uncomfortableness will you learn the greatest. When you're sitting comfortable and it's all going swimmingly, and you know, you're pulling all the evidence, and you know, all these types of things, yeah, it's nice, it's great for your confidence, but you're not learning anything. It's when you're down in the dirt and you're at the bottom, and your mediumship's all swinging from the rafters, and you don't know whether you're Arthur or Martha half of the time. You know, that's when you're learning the biggest stuff. Honestly, you really are. And people don't realise that. And people don't talk about that a lot in the mediumship development area. They talk about, you know, how swimmingly it's all going and all of this. But they didn't talk about the highs and the lows. And the highs and the lows, for me, are the most important part of your development. You should, if you're not having highs and lows, you need to be going away and checking in with Spirit World and saying, what do I need to learn here? So for them who are struggling, or for those who aren't in a good place, or those who, you know, think it's all gone to pot and the Spirit World's left them, you're on a journey to learn something. You're on a journey of a brand new experience. Honestly, welcome it with both arms, because at the end of it will be something far more better than where you are right now. I will guarantee you that. I can put my hand on thy heart and tell you that, on, you know, shadow of a doubt. So I wish you the best of luck with that one there, Joanne. But yes, you can if you want to. Ma saying, I find the live streams very helpful. Well, thank you very much there, Ma. I've noticed a lot of new mediums have activated just before during these current times. Is this a convenience? What I'd probably say is people's got more time now, more to look at other elements of them as individuals. I think when we've been caught up very much in the rat race, caught up very much in the walking day world, we get caught up with work, children, family, holidays, you know, these types of things. We never really stop, take a breath and ask ourselves what makes us happy. And I think, you know, the last year and a half, we've really had an opportunity as individuals. We've been locked in, you can't go anywhere, you cannot socialise. You sat in the house with people that, you know, maybe you didn't want to be sat in the house with, maybe you do, I don't know. And it really will make, you know, food for thought. I've got to be honest. I think a lot of people will have really evaluated every probably element of their life in some capacity through this pandemic. Do I think it's a convenience that there's more mediums coming to, you know, the consciousness? No, because we all find the path when the time is right. We all find the spirit world when we're meant to find them, when it's the right time for you in your mind. The spirit world is always there for you. It's just when you're ready to find them. So I think it may have an element of it, but I think it's more of a personal growth. And for me, I'm seeing more of not so much mediums, but people who are looking for something else. The mainframe isn't working, the plug-in or the mainstream isn't working for people anymore. People are questioning an awful lot, you know, just in the realms of lots of things that have gone on within the world in the last 18 months. People aren't prepared to just accept what you're saying is gospel. You know, that people are starting to do their own research, they're starting to do their own development, they're starting to look at things and make, basically people are stopping being sheep, if you can accept that. People are prepared to stand up and be counted, and are prepared to put themselves first, which I think a lot of people, when we're very caught up in the rat race and the busyness and stuff, we forget to put us first. So I don't think it's so much in development of mediumship, but I think it's definitely in the fact of, I would say, human consciousness. There's been an evolution in human consciousness for me. That's what I would say, because people cannot and will not accept anymore that is just as it is. There's more to it. So I hope I answered your question a little bit there for you, Ma. New Dawn says yes, love. Felt emotion by your answer, which means yes, it rings true. I have to say that people say to me all the time, the spirit world's, you know, prod me to go back to work. They prod me. It's not done. It's you're looking for it. You're hungry for something more. I wish you the best of luck. I hope it all works out for you. Certainly let me know how you get on. Hiya, Sue. I hope you're well. That's better. I tried to ask a question earlier and it didn't go. Well, here you are, Sue, in all your glory. So Danielle, yeah. What's your thoughts on this belly flip? Oh, okay. When connecting to the spirit well, just before you did, I used to get it now and then, but I don't now. Is this because I don't do more regular, right? Like I've heard some say it's spirit energy when you connect, and then it should happen unless it's just in right. Could you understand that the way you connect will change over the years? So the way in which you find your shift of the mind will alter. A lot of mediums when they first start out will probably start quite clairvoyantly. As we start to move along the journey of spiritualism or through the journey of mediumship, we will start to find other ways to connect, not just on the clairvoyant link. So for example, you're telling me that you used to get a belly flip, which leading me to think maybe clairsentience, claircognilian, somewhere around that feeling vibration. So that would lead me to think that there's been a change in the way you connect to the spirit world, or your shift has altered. So you still have that, because you're saying it still comes and goes from time to time, but there's also new developments going on there. So for me, Sue, I don't personally think there's anything going wrong there, and this seems to have been a big theme on the stream here this evening. I think there's new development, new ways of you connecting, learning, and working with the spirit world, not only in the shift, but also maybe in your development of mediumistic abilities. That's what that sounds like to me. It just means that they're moving you forward. But a lot of mediums are so comfortable and know this, that they dare and try something else for fear of losing this. But you're telling me that still comes and goes. But there's also new development being asked to be brought in, or they're asking you to look. Would you pick this up? Are you prepared to look at that from another parameters? So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you, Sue, love. Rachel's in. Hello, Rachel. Guides must, what can I get me words out there, Rachel? Guides must massively multitask. Yep. Because if they were busy in the spirit world, would suddenly sit and spare 10 minutes, they'd be in the middle of the learn. Yeah, but what you have to understand with guides is guides can be in multifaceted places all the time. They're not confined by the spirit, the physical body. When we start working with energy, this whole room I'm sitting in is filled with energy. And every time I put my hands through the air, it's manipulating, altering and moving around my hands. And ultimately, that's the same in the spirit world. They can alter and move their energy to have bits here, bits there, do this, do that, do the other. They're not confined by the laws of physical world, the physical world, if this makes sense. So what you have to understand with guides is that guides can be anywhere and everywhere, and that they can be doing one thing but actually be doing something else also. So never understand spirits in that capacity, or spirit guides in that capacity will help you to understand them a little better, Rachel. I hope that answers your question anyway. Sue saying, yes, thank you, I get what you mean. No bother, they're just asking you to look again at your development and look at if different ways to connect. That's all that they're asking you to do. Because you have to understand, if you are a medium who's working professionally in the industry, publicly, for example, and you're doing a lot of private sittings, connecting clairvoyantly all of the time burns an awful lot of what we call power or energy. So what we have to do sometimes is we have to find easier ways to connect. So maybe on a clairsentience link, or maybe on a clairaudience link, so that we can conserve the energy that we are burning, because every time we're connecting, we're burning energy, we're taking our mind there. So the spirit world's always finding other ways to take care of the instrument, not to burn as much energy, so that you can do more and more work for the spirit world. So I hope that helps you a little bit more there with that one also. A lovely lady called Karenet, I hope I have your name correct. What's the best way to extend relationships? So how do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, extend relationships? So do you mean as in extend your spirit relationships, guide relationships? What relationships are you talking about there? Because I just need a bit more awareness on that, so I understand what it is that you're talking about. Yes, definitely. I would agree, it's just a new thing. Yeah, more and more people are waking it up, thankfully. Yes, I did a workshop with you in Aberdeen. Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Don. Brilliant, got to say, much more in line how I felt with her at all, not what's been taught. Yeah. lots and lots of people disagree with the things I say. Lots and lots of people don't agree with, you know, lots of things that I talk about. Again, it's only from my view lens. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or, you know, indifferent. I've seen it from both sides of the coin, Dawn. I've got to be honest. I've seen from the side of opening and closing, cloaks of protection, grounding, and I also see this parameters, and I quite like to understand every side of the coin, because then I can relate to every medium that's coming through. I can understand where some minds may still be very fearful, other minds are more acceptant, you know, and I'm a great believer in that. You know, it's important as somebody who shares knowledge on mediumship to see it from every parameters, because every individual and every development medium is different in every capacity. I thank you for your beautiful words in Aberdeen. You know, a great weekend we did have, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did a couple of dems up there as well, which, you know, hopefully I may get back at some point, who knows. The current climate doesn't actually help, but, you know, certainly by all means, certainly get back to it, and I look forward to maybe give me some updates, Dawn. Find me on Facebook, we could certainly have a chat. You know, I always say to people, you know, once over it bothered me a lot, you know, certain bits and pieces of development and things like that, but I learned over the last couple of years not to allow them things to irritate me, because I have to understand, as a woman who shares knowledge, or is that more spiritual woman, you know, being a medium is great. I love, and I am a medium, and I've got no problem with that. But I've got to be that spiritual woman to go alongside it. And I've got to learn to understand that every man is going to bring their level of awareness, whatever level of consciousness that may. This isn't so much the spirit world, this is more this world. You know, and every element of bit of teaching that is available to us in every capacity, whether it be in the terminology of good or bad. I don't believe there's any bad nor good teaching, only teaching you want and teaching you don't want. And people are only teaching from the element and areas of where their awareness sits at this time. It's not that they're not prepared to be acceptant or open-minded of something more available to them. It's the fact that their minds also need time. Their minds need to accept that there is another way, or that there's possibly more than one way. So I always say to people, you know, whatever training you take at this time is the training that is right for you, because your mind needs that training. It may be that you only stay there for a little while and move on. Other times you might stay there for a long time, because there's lots and lots of things that you can take from that individual and their knowledge at that present moment. You know, it is what it is. And like I say, it used to upset me a lot. Now I see things and I'm aware of things, and I just think that's where they're coming from. That's their experience. That's where they need to be right now. It's not my job to get in their lane. It's not my job to get involved. That's an experience and knowledge and learning that individual or multifaceted individuals need to go through. I'm going through my own experience, my own learning, my own journey, and that's how I see it now. I have to be honest. And, you know, for a long time I didn't say it like that, but I do now, very much so. Raquel says, thanks, make so much help. Thanks, Rachel. Getting friends, sister-in-laws, not mothers, fathers. Right. What's the best way to get extended relationship? So you're saying how to get better communicators? Fill the database. That's my answer. Fill the database. Practice also will certainly help you in that area. But yeah, get the database. The database is something that a mechanics that I was given from the spirit world, something that me and the spirit world work on quite extensively. But another one would be plenty practice. That would be my answer to that one. So I hope I answered the question a little bit there for you. Foxy's saying, I struggle to get names. Is there a good trick? I maybe can try to say them, seeing off most of them. Have you watched my video on names? I have a video on the channel, Foxy, on getting names. It's something that takes a little bit of practice. Again, as I was just referring to the other lady's question, practice will not make you 100% perfect, but it'll certainly make you a lot more perfect. I would certainly recommend checking out the video, Foxy. And then I also do a class on names in part of my 6-week package as well, which are available via the website. Again, I'm not really going to talk about that because I didn't want to. But yeah, it is part of one of the packages that I do in regards to my 6-week ones that are on the website. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. Let me know if you've seen the video, because you might not have seen the video. If you have, there is some other ways we can do that, but again, like I say, they kept sort of on my classwork, I've got to be honest. Some of them I give them on here on the channel for free, some I click back, will watch, thanks, check it out, names, it's in the YouTube channel, certainly check that one out, certainly let me know how it works for you and all, Foxy, I'd be interested to know. Thank you, you're awesome. Anytime, anytime. Any other questions from you lovely lot here on the channel? I've been talking for hours. Been talking for ages and ages and ages and ages. Let me know what you think. Any other questions? I've got some water over here and also I'm having a mouthful of this. Oh, nice that. Any other questions? You lovely lot? I'm back next Thursday as always, so if you certainly want to come along and watch me chat and talk, and you can certainly bring your questions along, I'll be available again from 7:30 next Thursday evening. I am on Facebook tomorrow night doing a live Q&A. If you want to come along and watch me over there, you are certainly welcome to watch me there. I bet your tea is cold. Yeah, it is. I've so more or less drank a lot of it, like I've got to be honest with you, Ma. Very grateful. No bother, Laura. No bother at all. Do you get higher dimension beings through to you? There's many different terminologies. It's labeling again. I've heard avatars, ascended masters, you know, these types of things. In the realms of evidential mediumship, Dawn, the way you've got to look at this is can that information be proven? Can that, it's not even information, that intelligence. So say, for example, I don't know, Mother Teresa was to come through me on a trance night. Could we prove that intelligence of that person in that room? If not, then it's not going to be valid enough in what we call evidential medium. Now, if you want to do it and you're not classing it as evidential mediumship and this, that and the other, then it's open to interpretation. So my answer in short to your question is no, I don't. Because ultimately I have to work within the parameters of intelligence and working with intelligence and evidential mediumship. So obviously as I do evidential mediumship, my intelligence is taken in the room or through the trance work that I do. If I was doing it just for fun and I was just sort of allowing the spirit world to, you know, maybe do experiences and knowledge and these types of things, then, you know, and again, anything's possible, Dawn, you know, but I can honestly say in regards to evidential mediumship and improving of intelligence, the answer would be no. Laura saying, grateful to you. Thanks, Laura. Back on Facebook tomorrow night. If you haven't already with the page, it's Danielle, the Upboard School of Mediumship and Danielle The Happy Medium, so certainly come along and certainly have a watch on that one. Hazel saying, when you sit for spirit, are you in particular placed? Do you know what it is? I sit in the front room. I've got a spot. I was spot on the same settee. So, the last couple of years, I've been going to move and you know, change house and stuff. But for some reason, it hasn't happened. I haven't quite found the right place, or you know, whatever it may be. So then we decided I would just sort of do the house up and buy the house. So ultimately, I've been doing a lot of renovations in the house at present. And also over the last couple of years. So basically, I have a seat on the settee. So I moved, my front room used to be, I have like an open plan floor. And my front room used to be in there, and it's been moved to obviously the other side of the house. And subsequently from that, I bought like a new 3-piece, you know, as you do. And I have the same spot on the settee. So I watch the telly from there if I'm watching Netflix or I'm reading or whatever. And I have like the other side of the chair with all my stuff on, you know, as you do. So I just sort of meditate in the same place, if that makes sense. Whether I'm watching the telly there, whether I'm meditating or sitting in the power or whatever, that space is mine. Nobody can sit in that space. No one can have that space. The only person who does sit in that space from time to time is my cats. But the kids in that, anybody who comes for company, they're not allowed to sit in that space. So that corner is sort of mine, where I've built the space, which is and there's just natural light in there. There's nothing really, you know, untowardly. I'm not doing anything specific there, Hazel. It's just the particular space that I've sort of taken is my own, like, I've got to be honest. So I hope that helps you a little bit. And prior to that, you know, when my sitting rooms were the other way around, I still sat in the same chair on the other side. So, you know, for me, I've always done it that way. Some people can't. Some people need to lie down, and that again is okay too. You know, no one's right, no one's wrong. I will always say, when you're sitting for the spirit world, do what sits comfortably for you, how you feel in that capacity. Because ultimately, if you feel uncomfortable or you're not happy sitting in that particular space, then you're not going to be happy working for the spirit world. So just do whatever works for you, in all honesty, with that one. But for me, Hazel, nah, nowhere in particular, and it never really has been. Just downstairs on the settee in a corner. Give me in the corner, don't put baby in the corner. And that's Danielle. What time tomorrow? 7:07, I think, Louise. I would need to double check. I think it, I don't know, let me get my diary. Oh my god. Oh, I haven't got it in here. I think it's 7:07. I've got the thing in, but I haven't got the time. 7:07, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But thank you for that, Louise. Silver saying, I wish I'd listened to my very first teacher years ago. Sit and sit for spirit, she said. Yeah, it is one of the biggest things I can give you, is in that capacity. Sit for the spirit world. You will build a relationship with the spirit world. You will build an awareness of your energy. You will build your connections and your blend and all them types of things. It is one of the biggest things that I will say to people. You know, you don't need to be sitting, you know, for readings and these types of things. No, you don't want to be doing any of that. Definitely not. But you do want to be sitting for the spirit world. Sure, I'm sure it's 7:30 as well. Thanks, Sue. It's very important that it's for the development of your awareness of energy and awareness of your blend and your relationship with the spirit world. Not sitting, you know, 10 minutes before you're due to do a reading. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is your free time for not only personal development, but also for mediumistic development as well. I will categorically say, Sylvia, your teacher was very true. Yes, impatient is a big thing, and I appreciate that, and I understand where you're all coming from, because I was very impatient, and now, you know, it's not helpful to start doing all the things, you know, in 7 years. You know, I've done an awful lot. You know, I mean, most mediums, it takes them a lifetime to do what Danielle's done in 7 years. But, you know, I wouldn't recommend it to people. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. It's not that I don't like what I've done, because I've loved every minute of the last 7 years. I've got to be honest, and a bit more. But I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, because it's not helpful. Definitely not. I get it now. We have to get a no spirit. Yes, you do. You need to build that relationship with them. You have to understand where they're coming from. You have to become aware of your own spiritual development, as well as your mediumistic development, as well as your personal development. Sitting will give you that. For them who can't sit, and I did write a section in this in my book, if you can't sit, just sit quietly, but don't close your eyes, and just think about the spirit world. The thoughts again will line up, they will hear you. So don't worry too much about that. If you can't sort of go into a meditation, or you can't sort of, you know, sit in the power, because I know some people can't, and we should discuss them things as well. It's important. For me personally, so if you can't sit, or you're struggling to sit for the spirit world, then certainly you know, just sit quietly, leave your eyes open, and just think of the spirit world, and just allow them thoughts to go up, and the spirit world will catch them, and they will certainly put things into place for you there, definitely. Thanks for that, Silver. Great question again. Rachel saying, thanks, I've learned so much from you, and from thinking over things you said, answers in me. Well, that's very kind of you, Rachel. I'll see you next week, I'm sure of it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If there's no more questions, if we're all happy and done, let me know. I don't want to sort of cut the stream and people still be typing. So if you're still typing, I'll give it a couple of seconds. I will do the sort of boring bit. So here we go. If you're interested in development, classes, mentorships, these types of things, you can head on over to the Oddbud School of Mediumship at mediumship.com, where you'll find a list of things on there. We do have a Facebook group, again with the same title, so certainly check out that via Facebook. That has a lot of the open circle things and that in there as well. If you want to certainly join the page on Facebook, certainly join us over there. If you haven't got any of those, you can certainly join us on Instagram. Do give the video a like, sub, share with your friends. It certainly does help. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. It certainly helps it to grow, and maybe can help somebody else out there, you know. And I thank you for your time, your energy, your questions. It's been a great night tonight. So thank you very much to all of you who participated. It's not possible without you. So thank you very much to all of you who've come along. I'm eternally grateful. And you can see me at it again tomorrow night. So if you want to join us and talk a little bit more about spiritual development, mediumship development, or anything else to do with them types of things, you can certainly find me on that stream tomorrow night on Facebook. As I've talked and there's no more questions coming in, I'm going to leave all that with you for this evening. Thank you very much for your time. I wish you the very best of evening, day, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Big kisses from me and the spirit world. And I will see you all next week.